Welcome, Regan's Corner sports fans. Remember, subscribe down below if you're on YouTube. Follow us on Facebook and go down and check out Limited Nutrition. But we have wait for it, a junior from Kansas University, all academic, all American, Jordan Richardson, catcher slash first baseman of the softball team of Kansas University. What's good, Jordan?
Hello, excited to be here.
For sure. We're excited to have you. Okay. So, what kind of got you started in softball?
I played softball since I was as little as I could walk. I played, I think, all the sports my parents put me into, but softball was definitely my favorite. I played volleyball for a while, but definitely loved the sport of softball like over anything else. Started playing when I was probably 7 and just didn't stop from there.
For sure. So, that kind of how that journey from just kind of going into like t-ball and stuff like that, what was kind of the stepping point from where you got to obviously now in Kansas? Where was kind of the leaps and bounds in that journey?
Yeah, I would definitely say when you get into high school, you definitely get on a lot more competitive teams. You start traveling to tournaments where coaches are recruiting out of. So I think that was definitely the stepping stone, being on a team where everyone's goal is to make it to college softball. Because growing up, everyone's doing it for different reasons. Some people are doing it because their dad told them to. Some people are doing it just for exercise. So I think definitely once you get into college and you get in those higher level teams, you get with a group of girls who all want the same goal. And, so I think that would definitely be like the turning stone, like for sure with, kind of when I accelerated into really getting recruited and, really driving like my softball experience.
Right, for sure. So, talk about kind of the recruiting process that goes into softball and stuff like that, especially your experience.
Well, I mean, I would definitely say it's not a cookie cutter thing like you may think. There's a rule now where you can't interact with coaches until I think September of your junior year. I could be off on that, but I know it's pretty late. But while I was being recruited, there was really no rules pretty much. So, I mean, there was girls that I knew that were getting recruited in 8th grade, so it definitely isn't cookie cutter. My experience, like personally, is I had a lot of offers start coming in my sophomore year, went on some visits here and there. But KU actually, our former coach saw me um, at a like what do you call them? They're kind of like recruit tournaments. So they're just round robins. There's no like winner per se. So you could just go and coaches are able to watch you play. And she actually came to one of our games to see the opposing team, one of their girls, and noticed me. And so that kind of kickstarted it. She talked to my coach a little bit about how she was interested, followed up those games with some emails, ended up going to some camps, which is very important to, really get in front of those coaches and show them what you got. And then, it kind of like just leaped from there. Signed my in 2018 in November. That comes with, all the unofficial visits and the official visits and, all the wines and dines and stuff like that. But that was kind of my experience personally. But I would say that everyone has such a different experience. Like I said, I knew girls that were signed in their 8th grade year, freshman year, sophomore year. So you definitely have to realize that everyone's experience is different, and you can't really base your success and like you can't worry about what other people are doing because you could find the school of your dreams late in your senior year if you wanted, So there's really no timeline to it, but I would definitely say that, it starts with getting noticed and sending those emails and then following that up with camps and, just getting in front of those coaches.
For sure. So, what's kind of talking to like the softball kids around here in Indiana that we cover here on Reagan's Corner Sports Network? So, is it kind of the AAU scene is where you mostly get like discovered and kind of with these Division 1 schools or Division 2 or Division 3 or NIL
Mhm.
kind of stuff?
Yeah, I would say you definitely start getting noticed, later in your high school year when you're making those tournaments that, I think now they're really good about adapting to what coaches like need. And so, they fit it around their schedule and they host these huge tournaments of all these really great teams that they know the athletes are looking to get into these big like Power 5 schools. So it's a nice experience because it kind of takes the stress off you knowing that all the coaches are going to be there. So you just kind of have to show up and play your heart out and, see who comes. And, you always have to pay attention, whether that's your parents or your coaches, paying attention to who comes, because if, like I said, like KU came to one of our games and she was looking at someone else, and I knew that she was obviously watching me play as well in that game, and so following up with that email kind of started that train going.
For sure, absolutely. Backtrack a little bit here. So, if KU did not offer you, what was the top 3 other campuses that you've been on?
I kind of made my decision pretty early. I didn't really give myself much of an opportunity to, see the later offers that were in development, because I just fell in love with KU, obviously location and just the vibes of the campus and those coaching staff and the players. But I went on my first visit to William Jewell, actually my freshman year. Loved that. Didn't really know if I wanted the small school. I was looking at Princeton and Indiana State. What other ones? Nebraska went on a visit. Just a bunch of like little random schools, but KU definitely caught my eye early. So I definitely didn't have the long strung out recruiting process like a lot of girls do. They go on 20 visits if they could, but mine was pretty early and I just fell in love. So I kind of halted all those other ongoing like communications with those coaches.
And plus, you being from the state of Kansas, I'm sure KU was a dream from the start, getting
Yeah.
offered from it. So as soon as that KU, that Jayhawk was calling, hey, forget any other school. So what was the first kind of experience you had on the Kansas campus?
Well, I grew up going to the basketball games, obviously, Allen Fieldhouse. It's like the holy center for basketball. So, I was always a KU fan. My parents were actually a split household. My dad and my sister went to K-State, ew. But my mom and all of her side of the family went to KU. So it was definitely always in the back of my mind. But obviously with sports, sometimes you don't get that offer from the school you want to go to, so I think I was definitely super excited when like KU came
Mhm.
across, and I was already super familiar with the campus and just all the traditions and the vibe of like the school, and I knew that was where I was wanting to go the whole time. And so when that offer did come across, I definitely jumped at the opportunity.
For sure, absolutely. Okay, let's kind of talk about your freshman year a little bit. How was it? Because you've been on the campus before, watching numerous basketball games. This is one of the best basketball programs in the country.
Yes.
So, what was kind of like your freshman year stepping as a student, uh, playing softball, going to these games? So, how was it?
It's definitely a flip in reality. You go on your visits and you talk to the girls and they tell you exactly what you're going to do every day. They line it out, but there's really nothing that can prepare you for it. Obviously being a student, that was pretty easy, transferring from high school to college, but just, I think the biggest adjustment was having so much freedom and, having to, have really good discipline and self-management skills, because you don't have to wake up for class if you don't want to, but obviously as a student athlete, that's required. So just kind of, I think adopting those, self-driven skills that were really the biggest adjustment for me, and keeping myself accountable, obviously with practice and, having a really strict timeline and schedule day to day really helped. But I say it was a pretty good adjustment. Obviously there's no way to prepare you for how much work you put in. They could tell you, you're going to have an hour of lift, you're going to have 3 to 4 hours of practice a day, you're going to have tutoring in class, and you're like, okay, yeah, cool. But then when you actually get through it, it's a big adjustment, and definitely from high school, when you'd go to class from 8 to 3, and then you'd go to high school practice, and it was, a couple hours, and you'd go to club practice, it was a couple hours, and when you're young, you have so much energy. So definitely, I think another big adjustment was, finding the motivation to keep going every day, but obviously with the dream of softball and, getting to do what I love every day was definitely a big motivator.
For sure. Let's kind of talk about that February, the first kind of travel experience that you had as a softball player,
Yeah.
and then as a student as well. So how was the first time you had to balance all that?
They really help us. They give us tutoring, and we have a lot of advisors that keep us on top of assignment dates and all sorts of stuff like that. But it was definitely a huge adjustment. Obviously, we got cut short with COVID, so I didn't get the full experience my freshman year. But definitely those first couple weekends that we got in, there's so much nerves and excitement. You're hopping on a plane with your 20 best friends going to play the game
Mhm.
you love. So there's so much excitement, but also, I will admit it's hard because we would leave Wednesday or Thursday mornings. You're missing class. Teachers aren't gonna. I mean, they're really cool here about missing class. They work with you, giving you extensions if you need it, or letting you turn stuff in early or late. But you're missing exams if you have to. You're missing, lectures that sometimes professors don't post online. Now with COVID and Blackboard and Canvas being so much more interactive, in Zoom and stuff like that, it's so much easier now. But I would definitely say my freshman year, before professors really got into all
Sure.
the online stuff, it was so difficult to miss virtually half your classes and staying on top of that. But definitely the tutors that they give us and all the support academically, really helped out.
For sure. But hey, you made it work, Jordan.
You made it work. You do what you got to do.
You gotta do what you gotta do. You know what I'm saying? But okay, so let's talk about on the field. Okay, so which position do you like more, catching or first base?
I definitely love catching. That's my favorite. It's got my heart and soul right there.
For sure. So let's kind of talk about the fundamentals of catching and the defensive part of it.
Yeah. Well, definitely in college, a shift catching wise is, having to really control the field and being that leader because, at the end of the day, you're the only one that gets to see the whole entire field. Everyone else has their back turned to someone. So, really, in college, when there's so much movement and everyone plays at such a high level, base runners are smarter, the hitters are swinging at better pitches, the balls are in play so much more. There's so much more going on at the Division 1 level in college softball than I think anywhere else. And so definitely as a catcher, you kind of have to make that shift of being really intelligent in the game. You got to know, like if a ball goes to the outfielder, you go into 2 or 3 because you got about half a second to make a decision. So I think definitely the softball IQ really comes into play, as a catcher at this level.
For sure, absolutely. So what's your mindset going at like when you're about to go up to bat?
Definitely, our hitting coach is amazing. He really works with the mental side of hitting. You got to clear your head. Practice is where you're working on your fundamentals. That's where you're, tweaking things here and there. But when it comes to game time, you can't think about anything else but bat and ball. So I definitely, you have your pre pitch routine. You have your breaths because you got to get your heart rate down. You got to have a clear mind. You got to just get in that box and know that you put in all the work. You can't think about anything except, find a good pitch and take a hard ass swing at it.
For sure, absolutely. So, what is your walk-up song?
I have two. I have Halle Berry and Get Silly. Those are my
Get
two.
silly. Get
Yes.
silly. Nice. So, is the get silly kind of to loosen up before you go up to the bat?
I can definitely hear my teammates in the dugout screaming and dancing behind me. So definitely gets you in the mood. You got to have a good walk up song that is for you, gets you calmed down, kind of like I think of it as kind of like a snap back to reality because when you're in the hype of the game, you have so much going through your mind, and like I said, you can't get in that box thinking about anything else. So I think when your walk up song, it's kind of like it's like a little tick in your brain as like okay, deep breath. Like you put it, like I said, you put in the work. You gotta just clear your mind. So I think that the walk up song is definitely kind of, we teach ourselves as that kind of being like a little reminder in our brain of, okay, shut it off. There's nothing else you can do at this point. You gotta just get in that box and do the best you can.
Absolutely. Absolutely, Jordan. So when you're kind of getting into that mindset a little bit, okay, what is some pitches that you kind of look through, like with the scouting report and stuff like that?
Well, obviously everyone has their strengths and weaknesses, like inside or outside. But we do a really good job with our, scouting. We have what's called a platform called Dartfish, where we can break down like any game that our opponents pretty much ever played. So, and there's filters, so you can say like, I just want to watch the right-handed pitchers, and I think really understanding the tendencies of pitchers, because we're all human. We kind of, we have tendencies. So not all pitchers mix up pitches like they're supposed to. And so if when she gets up in the count, her go-to pitch is an outside. So you have to have that hitting like intelligence going into the box of knowing, okay, I think she's probably going to come inside first and then work me out and end up with a changeup. But obviously, you never know. So you can have a plan going up there, but if you see a pitch you like, you gotta just swing at it.
For sure, absolutely. So with that kind of app and stuff like that, studying the base runner, is it kind of the same kind of thing? And it's like what pitch to kind of have the pitcher throw at that moment, so you have a better chance of throwing the person out at second or third?
Yeah, we definitely know who has speed and who doesn't. We don't really ever alter the pitches we're throwing based off who's on base because we work really well with shifting our bodies, getting ourselves in like the optimal position to make a good throwdown no matter what pitch it is. I always joke with our pitching coach that I swear every time someone steals on me, it's a changeup. It's
Right.
like the worst pitch because it takes so long to get to you. And I always joke about it. I was like, I think when they're about to steal and you throw that changeup. But we definitely go after, our pitches are definitely based off the hitter rather than the base runners. But, we always, you just have to have that like fast reflex of always, catch and like take a peek, catch and take a peek. And the people who aren't playing that game, we also, they help us catchers out a lot with yelling runner because especially when there's a left-handed batter up, you can't always see those runners on first base, so they get 5 or 6 steps out before you can see them. And, that's obviously time's critical in this game. It's such a fast game. So those 5 or 6 steps could really cost you. So the dugout definitely helps you out with, letting you know that they're running before you can, visually see them.
For sure. Absolutely. So what, like the NIL versus your current years, okay, how does that help this year versus last year in the last couple years?
I think that no, I think it's a great opportunity. I think that we should be able to make money off of, our name. We spend all of our lives kind of building up this reputation of being like an athlete. And I think being able to use that to, promote brands that we love and we use, I think that's awesome. And, I don't know why it wasn't a thing beforehand, but, I'm so glad that it is now.
For sure. Absolutely. So what is your kind of mental aspect with dealing with an injury or something along those lines?
I've been pretty fortunate not to have any serious injuries. I did this fall in the off season. We play just like little community colleges, kind of scrimmage type based. And I was hurt the majority of the fall. We played a game versus Wichita State, and the batter fouled one off, and it kind of came back and hit me in the wrist, kind of weird. And it quite literally blew up my hand. My hand was like this thick. It was disgusting. And then after that, I had a hard fall and, kind of bruised up my ribs, which are so sensitive. So I kind of had 2 back-to-back injuries that I never had really had before. The most I'd had is a concussion here or there. So definitely this fall was kind of a really switch in reality to being hurt and not being able to practice and play. But you got to stay mentally healthy. You got to understand like it's important to get better. So I was in the treatment room day in and day out trying to, get healed and get healthy. But you definitely have to kind of take a step back when you're hurt and say, okay,
Right.
I can't practice, if I can't play, what can I do to help my team? Is that charting pitches during the game? Is that feeding balls to the coach during practice? So I think that was really what saved me, is always having a role. I was like, okay, if I can't do what I always do, let's find something else to be productive, because I knew if I just sat there and watched, I'd go crazy, wanting to be out there with all my friends. So I think definitely when you're hurt, you have to kind of take like that mental side of, okay, how can I be a productive member of this team, with my new current role?
For sure. Absolutely. So was it kind of was it kind of a blessing in disguise in a sense? Because you get to study a little bit more of the
Mhm.
sense in fall ball of how everything kind of works and how you adjust and everything with the bat, with uh with the pitches that you have the pitchers throw and stuff like that, and you're calling.
There's like when I'm hurt, is that what you're saying? When I'm hurt, like how do I like adjust with all that?
So yeah, so I'm saying like when you're hurt like that, it gives you time to kind of mentally
Hmm.
self-care and stuff like that, because a lot of the sports are a mental grind. So
Yeah.
when you have all that time, it gives you a kind of a platform to kind of study and look at all the different aspects of the
Mhm.
game.
Yeah, no, you definitely learn a lot by watching, and we're so, we have 3 to 4 deep in each position. So,
Mhm.
I think that while I was hurt, watching practices and watching those games and watching the other catchers, I would, quite literally study them. I would just stare at them and, say, what do they do? Are they blocking this ball good, or did they block that ball bad? How can I fix that for myself? Learning, I would sit next to our pitching coach and I would, study and like listen to what pitches she's calling where and to who, because in case that our pitching coach is sick one day, I could be out there calling pitches, So I think I definitely took the
Mhm.
mental side, not being physically on the field, but mentally, learning a lot, kind of playing the game in my mind, before, like when we would scrimmage those teams, I would say, okay, if I was catching right now and the runner, the runner went to second, I would be doing this. Or if they laid down a bunt, I would go two in this situation because the runner on first is slow. So you definitely kind of get that practice. If you can't physically be out there, you can definitely mentally be out there, and you can constantly be learning and stuff like that.
Absolutely. So let's kind of talk about your fandom here, girl. I've seen a couple pictures of Kansas City Chiefs games, little Arrowhead. Okay.
Yes.
Okay. Talk about your Chiefs in the future of your Chiefs, Mr. Patrick Mahomes.
I love the Chiefs. I love the Chiefs. Obviously we should have won that freaking game. We beat ourselves, but I'm excited for next season. I love going to games. My family, we're all big Chiefs fans, so we all go together, and I love the vibe of Arrowhead. It's so friggin' loud, and all the people there, so into the game and stuff like that. So I love the Chiefs. My favorite team.
Hey, Patrick Mahomes keeps getting me fancy numbers. They're gonna be my favorite team a little pretty soon. You know what I'm saying? But getting back to you, okay? In this kind of your junior year here, what are some of the goals for KU? Because I've seen you guys absolutely soar in the tournament so far.
Yeah, it's definitely, we have a lot of new girls this year. We're a pretty young team, but we kind of always like joke around that the vibes of this team and the team chemistry is significantly better, than past years. For some whatever reason, we're just clicking this year. We always say, our coach always says, team chemistry wins you those close ball games. Those, that 1 to 2 run game. If you're together as a team and you know that you have each other's backs, you're gonna pull through and you're gonna win those games. So I think that's definitely the difference between this year and last year's, having the trust in our teammates, and especially as a pitcher, they're out there, they know that if they hang a pitch and it gets hit hard, they have a great defense behind them, that she's trusting them to make that play, and pick her up after that bad pitch. Or as a catcher, I know that if I'm slow to a throwdown and the runner steals second, I know that my pitcher is going to get that second out for me or that third out, or I know that we're going to turn a double play. Just having faith in your teammates, I think, is such a big difference from, that sets this year apart.
For sure. Because you guys, like I've said, are soaring. Okay. And for sure. So, what are some of your goals on the field and off the field?
Just obviously just take advantage of every opportunity I have, play every game hard. I've been working, like crazy in the weight room and, after practice, I think that that's something that also sets us apart from last year's. Everyone is constantly hitting extra. You show up to practice an hour early just to get a couple more swings in, or you stay late to get a couple more ground balls. And we're all just so driven this season, especially right now in crunch time, that it's now or never pretty much. And, we're going to use every free opportunity we have to get better. So I think some goals for me definitely would be to hit at least 300. That's always my goal. I think that's a good bottom line. No stolen bases, obviously, is the top goal. We've had a couple this year, but, and just trying to get better each and every day, I think is a goal for me, is having a plan. Like when you step into practice, you're like, okay, what can I get better at today? Because you can't look at it as like, okay, let's just go through the motions, go through practice. Oh, I'm tired. I had class all day. I want to go to bed. Let's just get through this practice. It's like, no, when you put those cleats on, you need to give yourself day-to-day goals. And I think that that is something that works a lot better with me than long-term goals. It's okay, this week I want to get better at swinging at the inside pitch. So I'm going to go to practice 30 minutes early every single day, and I'm going to hit off a tee inside pitch. I'm going to hit 100 balls every day inside. That's my goal for this week. And next week it might be, high inside or low inside or the rise ball. We have machines that can throw us those movement pitches, which I really love to work on. Because obviously that simulates what the pitchers do, at this level. They really move the ball. So I think setting mini goals for myself works a lot better than those long-term goals, like I said.
Okay, nice. So, Jordan, we're going to our last segment here called the Hot Corner. No pun intended, since Regan's Corner. So, okay, what is some of your superstitions before a bat or before a game?
When I go up to bat, I do pretty much the same thing every single time. And I have a secret little saying. No one knows, so I'm not going to tell you, but I have a secret little saying that, again, with the pairing of the Walkup song really helps clear my mind. And, it's just, I think every batter has something that they do that kind of helps them breathe. So I definitely have to do that every single pitch. Right cleat goes on before the left cleat. Right sock goes on before the left sock. You never step on that line. Ever. Before the game starts, you step on that line, you're losing that game. I don't care what anyone says. Never step on the line. I have a specific throwing partner. Never throw with anyone else, or if I have to, I get really uncomfortable and the whole day is just thrown off in my mind. What other little superstitions do I have? Our team's one superstition that our whole team has is that when we're on offense and we're in the dugout, if we start getting hot and we have back-to-back hits, everyone stays exactly where they are. No one moves. Or if you move to go get water, you have to go right back to who you're standing next to. We have a specific order. And then the next inning, we go right back to there. For some reason, we think that who we're standing next to is why we're getting hits. It's like a silly little thing. But that's one thing that the whole team has, I swear.
So, are you guys like statues when you do this?
No, we're not statues. We don't switch our order around. If I'm standing next to Ashlyn and Coco, the next inning I have to sit next to I have to sit next to Ashlyn and Coco.
Okay. Solid superstitions there.
Yes.
Okay. So, what is your go-to meal?
For a pregame or just in life general?
Just in life in general, Jordan.
I am a big sushi girl. Big sushi girl. Love some sushi. And we have a really cute sushi wall on Mass Street that I love to go to. It's my favorite. So definitely sushi. Also love a steak. We can't go wrong with getting those gains in the weight room. So definitely I think sushi and steak are my go-to.
Nice. Okay. So if you had two, dream endorsements, what would they be?
Oh, well, I think HelloFresh would have to be one. Kind of a weird one, but I love to cook is like a little fun fact about me. So, are you familiar with HelloFresh at all?
I am a little bit.
Yes, so I do those meals. I think that that would be awesome if I could, promote them as I cook their meals just about every single day. And I think another one is Liquid IV. I would love to be endorsed by them because I think that the more electrolytes and the more hydrated you can be, the better you're going to feel. And so I really utilize Liquid IV a lot.
There's a lot of Notre Dame athletes that we work with are
Hmm.
partnered with Liquid IV, so we may contact them about future sponsorships for you and stuff like
Hmm.
that if we could possibly get to where that is.
Hmm.
Right. So, yes. So, what's the goal and what's your major outside of softball?
Well, I'm a business administration major, so that kind of just means that I take all realms of business classes. I take, the finance, the accounting, the supply chain, the management. So I take, a few classes in all of those. So that's what I'm doing right now. But I actually graduate after this semester. I only have two classes left after this spring. So I'll take those in the summer and then I'll get my undergrad and then I haven't decided whether I want to go to grad school or double major in marketing. So those are kind of my two that are up in the air, but that's the goal. I don't really know what I want to do yet. Something in business. I really like working with people. I know that I can't sit behind a desk. I'm a very interactive person. So definitely I'll have to find me something that fits that key.
Would this podcast fit you? But anyway, we'll talk about that a little bit after. So what is the class load like?
Well, right now this semester I'm only in four classes and one of them's online, so that definitely helps. Only having class Monday and Wednesdays. So I purposely kind of sacrificed what classes I wanted to take for which ones fit a good schedule because in past years missing those Tuesday, Thursday, missing that Thursday class every week when we travel is so hard. So I knew that I wanted to try and have class on Monday and Wednesdays. So that has definitely helped. And Mondays are our off days, so at this level, coach has to give us at least one day a week that's off. So I've definitely trained myself to get as much done on Mondays as I can. So my workload is pretty good. I have, assignments due Sundays that I do on the road, and that's pretty much it. I just want to I do as much beforehand as I can because when we're playing softball, that's all I want to focus on. I don't want to do school, in between games and stuff like that. So definitely having those discipline, self management, and time management skills have really helped me, be prepared early in the week rather than later when we're playing.
For sure. Absolutely. So what is your all-time favorite sports movie?
Oh, I'm not a big movie girl. I don't really watch TV. I'm a big reader. So I don't really I love 42. I do like that movie. And the one oh, I forgot the name of it. It's like it's a really old track one. I love that one. I would have to look up what name that is. But I definitely love 42 and Field of Dreams and stuff like
I mean, you can't go wrong with baseball movie. You
that.
can't go
Yes.
wrong. They're all great. They're all great almost. So, pleasure having you on here, Jordan.
Well, thank you for having me. I appreciate
Hey, we'll have you on anytime you want to come
it.
on here. So, stay froggy, my friend. And remember down below, subscribe and go follow Jordan on her social medias. And also go see if there's any NIL opportunities with Jordan if you're looking for something along those lines. So, thank you again for coming on.
Of course.